Imagine feeling sad, angry, or frustrated 24/7 every single day. Not only would that be damaging to your own mental health and well being, but it would also take a toll on the people around you and the relationships that you have with them. Now, if you were to get angry every single moment of every single day, that would probably indicate an imbalance in your emotional response because realistically, there's not going to be a situation every single waking moment of your life that's going to trigger that appropriate emotional response of anger. And more so, it wouldn't really make sense to respond to a positive situation with anger. And if somebody were to do that, you probably wouldn't really want to be around them. So, why is it that we are expected to respond to a negative situation with positivity? Trying to be positive 24/7 might sound great on the surface, but when you dig a little bit deeper, it can actually be really damaging and have the opposite effect of what you're going for. Several studies have been done that show that when you're overly positive in the face of a negative situation, it has the opposite effect and can make you end up feeling worse, more so than people who had an appropriate emotional response to the context of the situation. Part of this is because toxic positivity actually causes you to suppress your emotions, which robs you of having a full human experience. It's kind of like as if you were walking around as half of a human, only experiencing half of your emotions. It might sound like it makes sense to try to be positive in light of a negative situation, but in doing that, you're doing yourself a disservice actually, because you're pushing away your negative emotions because you don't want to feel them. But then you're not learning how to effectively handle those negative emotions and deal with them in a healthy way. Toxic positivity is going to make you dismiss negative emotions and respond to difficult situations or difficult emotions with a false sense of reassurance and avoidance. Have you ever been in a situation where you or somebody you know responded to a negative situation by saying something like, "Oh, don't worry, everything's fine, nothing's wrong," and things were obviously very wrong? That is an example of toxic positivity when you're responding to a situation with a false sense of reassurance and avoiding the actual problem that's going on. And this could make you come off as inauthentic, not genuine, and even delusional. This is a sign that you are uncomfortable with negative emotions and that you're not sure how to respond to them. And that's kind of a problem because it becomes this vicious cycle. The more you avoid your negative emotions, the less and less you're gonna know how to deal with them in a healthy way when they come up, and you keep avoiding, and then you keep not knowing how to deal with them, and then you keep avoiding, and it goes on and on. Signs of toxic positivity are hiding how you actually feel about something, stuffing or dismissing an emotion to just get over it, feeling guilty for your emotions, minimizing the emotions and experiences of others with feel-good quotes or statements, not validating your emotions or someone else's emotions with statements like, "It could be worse," or "It's not that bad," shaming other people for expressing any emotion other than positivity, and brushing off things that bother you. Positivity to the point of toxicity has some unintended consequences, like isolating or distancing yourself from others, which causes your relationships to really suffer or even fail, and it could make your friendships more inauthentic and less deep than they could be. If you're the person who is overly positive all the time, you might be unintentionally pushing people you love away because you might not be making them feel comfortable talking to you about real emotions and real problems that they're facing because they feel like their emotions won't be validated by you. Another consequence of suppressing your emotions is that they tend to get more intense, which can manifest into other things. Things like passive-aggressive behavior or getting irritated more easily, things like aches and pains in the body or getting sick easier. And it can also become things like addictive behaviors. So alcohol, drugs, gambling, smoking, overeating. Those are all things that can be consequences of not validating your emotions, and you look for some way to find relief for what you are feeling inside. So toxic positivity is really a dysfunctional attempt to deal with the negative emotions that we're facing, and it really leads us to having poor emotional management skills. And there was actually a paper published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology that found that experiencing a diverse set of emotions may be more beneficial to your mental and physical health. And there were also other studies that found that feeling emotions like anger or sadness at the appropriate times in the appropriate contexts might be better for your overall happiness. And this is because the way that you relate and respond to your negative emotions plays a huge part in your overall happiness. So if your goal is to be a positive person, you have to know how to handle handle negative situations and negative emotions in a healthy way. Because the genuinely positive people, they don't ignore situations that are negative. They don't ignore their negative emotions. They know how to handle them, and they acknowledge them and validate them. It really is about finding that balance, because you don't want to be an overly positive person when it doesn't make sense, or an overly negative person when it doesn't make sense. Because remember, I talk about this on my channel, that your brain can be rewired to follow different thought patterns. So you don't want to go to one extreme or the other, but you want to be able to live a real, authentic human experience and be able to experience those emotions when they come up and have them validated in the appropriate context that they come up in. Just remember that emotions are normal. It's normal to feel joyful when something joyful happens. It's normal to feel stressed when something stressful happens. It's normal to feel terrible when something terrible happens. Those are normal parts of being a human being. You have to be compassionate towards yourself, and that way you can be compassionate towards other people as well and strengthen the relationships that you have with them. So never deny yourself the time or the space that you might need to fully experience the real emotions that you have. Don't try to be happy or positive if you are feeling like you just want to break down crying, or if you're frustrated or angry about something that just happened. Don't dwell on them so much, and don't let them grow and fester to become this bigger thing than it actually is. But what you should be doing is to recognize them, acknowledge that they're there, and validate them. And that's our video on today's topic of toxic positivity. What did you guys think? Have you ever heard of toxic positivity? Have you ever experienced it firsthand? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed today's video and would like to receive more just like it would mean the world to me if you hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you'll be notified every single time I post a new video. If you're looking for more videos about mental health, mindset, self-care, self-development, and more, be sure to check out my channel. A great place to start will be my last week's video on cognitive distortion thinking patterns, so check that out if you're interested. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye!